so as I mentioned, my theme is insecurity, and I'm just going to walk us through just visually where I've wanted to be when it comes to security and what some of my roadblocks were. But I do know, as you look at my first slide, that there's that insecurity and wanting to be in security, and the transferable skills that we hear Katia share a lot about are really rooted in my presentation. So I'm not the first to speak on it, but this is truly my personal story. So transferable experiences and security. So have any of you, did you ever have insecurities or doubts, or do you have them now that, you know, I got skills for security or in compliance or in technology? Anybody have any feedback or thoughts on it?
Yep.
Okay, tell me about it.
Tell you about my insecurity?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That I don't have enough experience that in the areas that I'm interested in. Just recalling, for example, Amy's presentation, I was like, yes, that's the area I'm interested in. Now, how do I translate that into a resume so that this person looking at it will say, yes, we want to talk to this person. And then on the other side, the technical, because I am interested in programming and I have done the boot camp and I do know my way around at least the front end of a website. So those are basically where my insecurities lie.
Okay, similar to mine, just different areas. Anybody else? I mean, are you pros out there? Did you have insecurities early on?
I was going to say, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so for me, as some people know, during my job search, when I was trying to when I was trying to sell myself and actually share the knowledge that I had from my previous work experience, recruiters making me feel like I didn't know what I was talking about, or I couldn't perform the job, or I didn't meet certain requirements due to their job descriptions. So sometimes that made me insecure, but I knew at the end of the day, it wasn't me, it actually was them.
Yeah, that's why we're glad you're here and you've written that book to help us. The struggles are real, yes. Right? Anybody else?
Yeah, I was just going to say, some people have defined this as imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talk on LinkedIn, so it's a really good topic to talk about. I like to go to root causes, and you know, sometimes we're our own worst enemies, right? So sometimes, you know, we actually create that feel of inadequacy. Other times it is peers, and you know, I think we talked one other meeting about, you know, competitiveness. Cybersecurity is a very competitive field where people sort of downplay other people, try to promote themselves. So sometimes it's kind of out of your control that it's other people that are sort of making you feel that imposter syndrome, that you don't belong or you don't know as much as them. But that's the key, is the diversity of people knowing things in different areas. If everyone knew everything and they all took the same certs and they all lined up, we'd all be the same and nobody would have a better capability than the other. So I think that's key, is, you know, accepting maybe that you feel the imposter syndrome, but look at the root cause of it. Is it someone else that's making you feel that way? Are you comparing too much to say, you know, well, he has that or she has that, I don't have that? You know, so there's a lot of areas to look into this to get a deeper insight as to why it's there.
Yeah, that's very insightful, Rob, because I think, you know, we do root cause analysis in business, but we need to think about this for ourselves in other areas. So on point. Anybody else? Nope, I'm going to move on. All right, so I want to talk about me in the next few slides. So you're going to see, as I share some of the things that Katia shared about and Rob, that you'll be like, yep, that's me. All right, why isn't my slide moving? Okay, whoops, sorry, didn't mean to go that far. Hold on. I promise you, I'm not doing anything. Okay, there you go. Okay, there you go. Okay, so I want to talk about my insecurities, and I wanted to show it in a visual format. So in thinking about security, I come from fintech, financial technology area. And because I didn't come from traditional, or what I thought was traditional cybersecurity, meaning if you look at the guy in the middle, only for technical, that would like get me frozen thinking, I don't think there's a place for me in cybersecurity. And then if you look at the top left, you'll see where I have a credit card because I was in the payments industry. I understood cyber crime and fraud, transaction fraud, had to help clients with cloud solutions and their point of sale devices. I still thought, you know what, I lack prior experience. And then, of course, there's the certifications. You know, with some of you and with lots of people in security, I'll see like 10 certs behind their name and I'll think, how's that going to happen? How am I going to do it? And then when I would go to conferences, I think Rob mentioned this, there are some groupies, you know, where you can't, you don't seem to be able to get into the group. And then the other thing is the language of security. And then I thought these big companies would not want me. So that was an issue. So what I realized as I started to think about getting into security, that I've been under construction. And I'm going to show you how. And that's with my education and my past work experiences. So the whole concept of being in security, I needed to find my in. And the in started with my story. So there's 4 people that I show here that are, 2 are CISOs, 1 is a chief technology officer, and 1 is a CEO of a large technology and security company out of Canada. And so Phil really inspired me because we worked together in fintech. He was the CISO. So I worked with him a lot, and the CIO and the CTO on projects with clients. So a lot of my background is client facing. But when I went to him, I said, Phil, how do I get into cybersecurity? He says, you've already been doing it. You just didn't realize it. And then I reached out. I didn't know him. I reached out to Patrick online because he had some post about security. So I said, hey, can we talk? And one of the things that he shared was that as he's hiring people, yeah, there's areas where he, you know, needs the depth of experience, but he really values passion. And he felt like I had the passion and believed in me. And then the lower left-hand corner is Chief Technology Officer Tom. And I've known him for 15 plus years. We didn't work in the same company together, but we knew people. I would go to him for advice about projects that I was working on, and he challenged me to do it, to focus on it. And then the last person is Phyllis. She comes from fintech. She was a chief information security officer with a large fintech company. And she spent a lot of time with me, just allowing me to talk about my skills and walk me through where there was alignment. And by the way, the reason she really wanted to spend time with me 15 or so years ago, when she first got into security, she came from education. She was a high school math teacher. And then the last people that have helped me to find my in story is really many of you in this group. So as I think about bridges in tech, we're going to talk about my hashtag, you know, in a few slides. That inspiration came from each of you because my insecurities coming to this meeting was really about me. It wasn't about any of you. One of you took time with me or others, even if you were very seasoned, to help us to understand the industry. And then there were different things that I learned. And then I also, you know, focused on, you know, talking to my peers and people that were in transition so I could feel secure. Any questions? Nope. Okay. So about me, so as I shared in the previous slide, my mentor coaches just really helped me to see that, and this group too, I speak security. I understand it. I have expertise in it, but I doubted it. And so I wasn't on the network side of security, but I was on the product side, and I was on the front lines with clients. And I traveled across the US, meeting with clients, doing health checks and security assessments to make sure they were doing the right things, mostly in the payment space, around how they were handling cardholder data, where they were storing customer data. I ran a team in FinTech that was responsible for 350,000 merchants. So I had 61 team members under me, and we had to always make sure that we were doing the right things with customer data. So that's how I sort of realized maybe I am in, maybe I have a foot in the door. So, you know, I shared about my prior, you know, experiences with clients. So I come from technology and SaaS companies and very highly regulated industries. So at Elevon US Bank, I learned a lot about security. I had to take teller training, anti-money laundering, fraud transaction management, know your customer, which is KYC and CDD, a lot of due diligence around customer behavior security and transaction security and fraud management. So again, as my coaches and mentors, you know, talk to me about the companies I've worked at and what I did, I learned some things. Also, when I was at NCORT, the city of Atlanta was one of our clients, and they went through a breach. And so I got to spend a lot of time with the client, understanding that whole process around ransomware. But also there were other clients of ours that went through breaches. And when I was at Elevon US Bank in the payments industry, that happens. And by the way, I started a nonprofit 15 years ago or so, and I got breaches. So I understood security. The other thing that I did with all of these companies, because I ran the account side and I was the head of marketing and PR for a long time, I dealt with a lot of customer data, a lot of sensitive issues. I had to write incident responses that, you know, would go to some of our large accounts, like a Target or a government agency. So again, I started to see, maybe I am in security. And there was my second foot in. I think it's important for all of us to, you know, that are wondering if we're in or how we tell our story about being in, is to understand the numbers. Because I ran large teams, I'm very focused on what's the vision, what's the mission, what's the KPI, as Rob pointed out, what's the root cause analysis. So I learned through talking with my coaches that hey, I have 5 roles where there was a focus on cybersecurity and compliance. Over my career, I worked on 100+ security projects. And again, I wasn't on the network side as a pen tester or coder, but I was working on security projects, security products, and how we pitched and presented them to clients. And I did a lot of assessments. And I've worked in multiple industries. So fintech, government, healthcare, automotive, associations, retail, e-commerce, you name it. You know, when you're in the payment space, you work with a lot of clients. So in terms of my academic studies, what you're going to see is I don't have any certifications. So I thought there's no way I could get in. So I pulled, you know, those 2 feet that I put in, I took one out because I was like, I don't have any certifications. And what I do have is my undergrad degree is in communications design. So there was some industrial design with it, but really how you communicate. So a lot of marketing, communications, technical writing. I did a lot of work around in project management, working with project management offices. I helped CEOs and business leaders with strategy. And so when I was riffed from my company because VCs came in, I went to Georgia Tech to work on my green and black belt in Six Sigma. And then as I got more comfortable, and Katia doesn't know, but last summer I reached out to her before and I had a talk with her. You probably don't remember, Katia. Yeah, it was one of my first talks and I was so scared about talking with you because I was like, oh my gosh, she's like this big CISO, you know. And she helped me to see some things. And then I went to conferences. I spent so much time because when I got riffed, I did have a package, but I was like, I like to learn. I was like, I need to understand this. And then I kept thinking, praying, getting advice, and decided to apply to Georgia Tech to enroll in my master's in cybersecurity. So just so you guys know, Georgia Tech is very difficult to get into. A lot of people want to get into it, but it's also difficult. But I spent so much time because I know how to market companies' products. So I really went full scale on my brand pitch, and I share with them about the over 30-something webinars, conferences, and those 3 of the 4 people, because they only needed 3 references, wrote me stellar references. And I waited till the last minute to apply because, again, I didn't think I would get in, but I thought it was a great opportunity. So 15 minutes before midnight when the application was due was when I turned it in. And April 14th, I didn't realize they had sent me an email that I was in or to go to this link. And I waited a few weeks before I checked because I was like, yeah, I'm probably not in. So you never know when you're in, okay? And if you think about my background, I've worked with CEOs, CTOs, CISOs, CIOs, and other leaders, traveled everywhere, and look at my insecurity. So for people, I don't know if Imara's on here or Kene, or people that are getting started in your career, you know, we all have insecurities. And even though I have a lot of work experience dealing with clients and working with senior leaders, everybody has something to talk about, describe. Katia says it all the time. That's why she was the first person I spoke with after I got riffed. You know, and understand you can get in, and you do have superpowers to get into cybersecurity. So the last few slides, I just want to encourage other people like me. So find your insecurity story because you have it, right? So talk to people, talk to me. I mean, Corinne Jackman, we both come from FinTech. So she and I have been talking a lot. She had questions about being transferable. So I think I had KT on one shoulder as I was talking to her. You know, but I actually have grasped and I understand my insecurity story, and I'm encouraging you guys to do it too. Create your career insecurity portfolio. So you haven't seen it all because I wanted to do highlights today, but I spent time going through projects, product launches, who I have met with. I even talked to some of my clients because some were technology folks, and I talked to those coaches that I talked to you about so I would understand my portfolio story, security portfolio. And that's really the jobs, tasks, programs, skills. It may not be a specific security role where you have security analysts in your title, but I promise you, and I think Katia, can you high five me, that you have skills that work. And then the last thing that I'll tell you that I did was I just grabbed some interview questions, and I encourage all of you that are like me, that are, you know, either doubting or wondering, are you in, are you out, do you know anything, is I just wanted to go through some questions, you know, and to see if I could answer them. Like, what would you do to assess a company's security needs? I was like, I know that question. What are some significant trends in cybersecurity that interest you? Well, I could really tell my story. And then how would you report a weakness in the system security of a company? So I don't know all that, but I could figure it out. You know what I mean? Have you ever worked for a company that had a data leak? Sure did. And I work with clients that have breaches. So in closing, I wanted you to know about me. I want to encourage all of us to, you know, brand ourselves with a big IN and call Katia like I did, or get her book, right? Go to her website, do whatever you need to understand you're in. That's the end of my story. Any feedback, questions?